Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm very excited to have you here today. We're going to talk all about Microsoft Forms. My name is John. I'm from Knowledge Wave, and today I'm joined by a few others. Dan St. Hilaire, also from Knowledge Wave. Hey, Dan. And we've got others from VirtualIT here as well. Kind of a fun webinar. We're going to talk about Microsoft Forms, but we're going to kind of have some discussion going on. We want this to be interactive as well. Dan's here to moderate. He's with me to kind of check any questions you have, so please use that question panel that you see on the side. We also recommend, if you want, open up a browser if you have another monitor, you can, even on your phone, and try some of this out as I talk about it. That's kind of cool.
I'll be answering the questions, and we'll make sure that there will be a recording available, but I think Michael's going to do a quick intro, so we'll let him kick things off and let you roll after that, John.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you joining us today. This is our second installment in a series of webinars we're doing about useful Microsoft tools that tend to get overlooked. There's a bunch of things out there that can really help a business organization run a little more smoothly, and we really want to highlight those to help you guys out. For those of you that I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I'm Mike McQueen. I'm the virtual CIO for VirtualIT. It's my job to help guide organizations to use technology in a way that helps streamline their operational goals. That's really just kind of a fancy way of saying, if you've got too much money, I can tell you how to spend it. But really my role is just to help find tools that fit within your budget that help things run as smoothly as possible. And the tools that we're talking about today are this one's, specifically one that helps out quite a bit with that. Microsoft Forms is a tool that's been around for a while. Many people just don't really know or appreciate the power that it offers. We've actually used Forms within VirtualIT for a couple of years now in a variety of ways, and we'll actually touch on some of those in a little bit. But I do want to throw out there, you heard John talk just a little bit ago from Knowledge Wave. Knowledge Wave is a group that we've partnered with in the past to put on some of these webinars, and they've done an incredible job with it. They have an amazing wealth of knowledge when it comes to Microsoft tools, and we really enjoy that partnership with them. They help with these webinars, but also help with some end user training that we put on from time to time as well. So John's going to cover a number of different ways that Forms can be useful for you. And then we're going to go over some simple forms to build and see what that looks like. As we go through this, I really want to challenge everybody that's listening in to try and answer two questions to yourselves. And that's really, are there any questions that I have to ask repeatedly or to multiple people, whether that's internally or externally? We waste a lot of time asking the same questions over and over again, and there might be ways that we can kind of help with some of that through Microsoft Forms. The other question would be, are there times that people do not provide enough information or the right information? And that's another problem that we've used Microsoft Forms to solve internally for us in a documentation sense, making sure that everybody's pulling all the right information in and not forgetting anything or putting inaccurate information in, things like that. The answers to those questions for you can really help identify some potential uses for Forms within your organization. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to John. And like they said, definitely feel free to jump in and ask questions as they come up.
Great, thanks, Mike. I actually couldn't agree. I didn't know what your intro was going to be. I couldn't agree more with those things that you said about it being underutilized. And but the thing is, you're seeing it pop up everywhere. I'm going to actually have a slide all about the integration with other apps. I think it's one of those apps that kind of slid under the radar, but now it's here, and we see it everywhere from PowerPoint to Outlook, and we can even get very exciting and take that data and use it in Power BI and stuff. But you also mentioned, or Mike also mentioned, different use cases. So I'm excited to talk about some of those. And yeah, I'm John Hood from Knowledge Wave, and Dan's here as well. I love talking about this stuff. I like the opportunity to work with VirtualIT as well, because it's exciting to talk about this. There are a lot of cool things we can do with Forms, and a lot of people are paying for third-party apps and stuff that they don't really need to because it's included in the subscription to Microsoft 365. So today, we've got lots to talk about. Got an introduction to Forms. What is it? Why would I use it? How's this going to help? And then some real world examples. We use it at Knowledge Wave. VirtualIT uses it. A number of different organizations use it. Everyone from education to government to small business, enterprise, nonprofits use it a lot. It's compliant. It's a great way to reach out. We're going to talk about, as Mike mentioned, creating a simple form, what that looks like, what the different question types are like. And then if you want to get really fancier with your forms, you can do some more advanced stuff like branching. And branching allows you to ask questions in a conditional logic style. So if somebody answers yes for one thing, then you might direct them to a different section and then ask them different questions. I've got an example. We've got a lot of examples to show. And again, open up a browser on your end and check it out. We're also going to just show some of the different ways, like when you export to Excel or you sync with an Excel document, so all the responses go to it automatically. Different ways that you can capture that, share it, report on it. Sharing is a big part of this. You can share to collaborate. You can share a template of the form you created. It's so cool. You want to share it with others. They can get a clean copy of it. And then you can also share it with respondents. It's lots of different ways to collaborate. And then, of course, cool tips, best practices along the way. And if you've got questions about specifics, even scenarios, ask away. So let's begin. What is Microsoft Forms? I think we get the idea with all that we've talked about, but by definition, it's a lightweight app. It's simple to use. We can easily create things like surveys, quizzes. You can do quizzing with point values. It can score for you, and there are a variety of different question types that are conducive to that. And then also polls. They're great for icebreakers and stuff. You can use these during Teams meetings or any meeting, really, live or remote. You could do it online or in a conference room too. You can use QR codes. So we can create these forms from that. But the thing is, it's cloud-based, so surveys or quizzes, and you get this creation tool, which is basically a forms builder that's really easy to use, has AI and built-in analytics. So it's got a lot of stuff. We mentioned integration, and this part is why you would want to learn more about forms now, because we're seeing it everywhere and we can use it in a lot of different places. It's unified. That means we can use it across Microsoft 365 pretty much anywhere, because even if Forms isn't integrated with a button, you can still put a link to the form because it's web-based. And people can access it on their phone or iPad or PC, whatever they need. You can share really easily with Outlook. So if you need to get feedback from clients or customers or even internally, you can use Outlook to promote some engagement. Collaborating, using it in Teams is awesome, because if you want to either collaborate on building the form with people in your group on the team, or you want to collect responses from that department, let's say, you could put the form as a tab in Teams in the marketing channel or something, in one of the channels. It is compliant with and secure with the, kind of treat it like any other Microsoft file that could be sensitive, like an Excel document or Word. This adheres to the same standards. And then there are a lot of other very fancy things we can do with workflows and using the app Power Automate. Very, very cool app, more advanced, but it's easy to get started if you use one of the templates. You search for forms in Power Automate, you can kind of get going. What that does, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples, is we can basically automate these steps, save a ton of time, and take data that's important and then start using it. It's cool. Microsoft 365 groups, that's what we see everywhere. If you're in a team, in Teams together, you share, you're on a SharePoint site, that's going to be the same throughout as far as permissions go. And it's easy to use in Excel, because that's probably where we're going to want to see our data. And SharePoint, we can use lists even. But Excel Online is a big one for forms. And this is important because if we use Excel Online with forms, that means we can have a solid, constant, automatic connection between Excel and the form you make. The other choice is to just manually export a report to Excel whenever you want, as needed. So if you use Excel Online, it's automatic. If you just create a form in Forms, then it's as needed, which is convenient. It depends on what is this ongoing? We'll talk more about it. Real-time engagement, you can use it inside of a PowerPoint slide, which I'll show you. You can also embed into a notebook. Well, this will be expanding soon because I think Forms is continuing to show up in more places. But you can certainly put links and use OneNote there. Embedding is easy because you can get embed code. Another place you'd want to embed is in Sway. So Sways are like storyboards. You can kind of create a designy, simple presentation like PowerPoint, but you can embed them in there so people can do the form as they're kind of going through and viewing this way. I mentioned Power BI. That's if you wanted to take maybe org-wide data. I've got a good example of one we used at Knowledge Wave that we exported to Excel. We could export and check out in Power BI. But some of the analytics in Forms is actually looks like Power BI, and then you can share summary reports and stuff. So it's cool. I mentioned the Excel thing. I'm going to mention it one more time because I do think it's important. It's hard to, you have to start over if you choose the wrong one here at the beginning. So think about the two questions. Do you want to generate and download the file as needed? You're going to see an icon in the responses tab. I'll show you what it looks like in a minute, but it's just open in Excel. And we see the Excel icon. And then the other question, do you want an automatic connection to Excel all the time? It's got to start an Excel line. It's got a little cloud. So you're going to see that difference. Let me see here. I think I mentioned Power Automate. Power Automate has these things called flows. Power Automate used to be called Flow. So if you've heard that, that's pretty much the same. But you can have it trigger different actions depending on like when somebody responds to your form. You can even have it use other apps and integrate kind of in multi-levels. You can create a task in Planner from your form and then post a message to Teams, or you could have it create a list on a SharePoint site or using the Microsoft Lists app, which is kind of newer and cool. So what happens in this, again, it's not, we've got lots of videos on how to do this, so I'm not going to deep dive, but I want you to be aware this is an app that you can access just by clicking up on the app launcher. And then there are templates in here. And a lot of the templates have forms in them, and it connects to, you can see here, forms. It just makes sure you're good. Planner and Teams. And as you go through that, it has you fill in all the stuff, and all the stuff, meaning columns, what bucket, what's the title, when's the due date, start date, who's it assigned to, and it'll connect all those services, which is awesome because then it can just post it to Teams. This saves a ton of time. It's kind of one-time setup, and the templates are great. We use this a lot. A lot of organizations use it to basically take your form, put it in Power Automate, start creating tasks for people within the org, but then putting it on a list on SharePoint, because then everyone has access to it and we can start following up on customer service stuff or whatever it might be. So there's a lot of discussion, but it was important to kind of prep to see. We're going to do a lot of interaction and demo here as well. So what I'm going to do here is show, we had one that sort of started. We'll go back to it, bear with me. If you want to embed this right into PowerPoint, I started this one yesterday so I can see some practice examples in here. You can have a QR code, and this is a PowerPoint slide. I didn't mean to back out of that, sorry. Typically you keep it going, but grab your phone if you're interested. There's also a link right there, which Dan, I believe, is going to put in the chat for you. And if you just hold your camera up to it with your phone, you're going to see an example. This is a basic Excel survey. So if people, you can zoom in pretty easily. You can also submit another response or save your response, and you don't have to answer them all. You can just tap, tap, tap. And then you can kind of have that. You'll be able to see that. Oops. Bear with me just for a moment. Dan, is that working for you? I was able to get in and see that. Let's try one more thing here.
Yeah, the survey works fine.
Yeah.
I'll complete one once you
Put that right back up there.
get it back up there so the results are coming in.
There we go. And this is the same link you provided the BSN at the end. Well, while we're sort of practicing that, and I just typed in a couple, I understand I didn't check the number of how many people are attending the call. It's a lot of pressure on you to fill these out to see the live results. But here we can see a few. And what's happening is as people, and I love that you can embed this into a PowerPoint presentation because you could have a quiz along the way or a knowledge check. It doesn't have to be point related. Or just what did you think of this, or what satisfaction survey at the end type of thing. And when you have that, it's cool to be able to see these results live. And then as you mouse over the different parts of this chart, we can see percentages. We can see there are 68 responses. This is question 2. Here's question 1. You can see different names, how many people. 2 respondents are John Hood, 3%. And then, of course, as we scroll through these questions. And the ranking one's cool to have in a PowerPoint, in my opinion, because it's a quick way to kind of make a decision during a meeting. And not just the ranking one, but any. Make business decisions right on the call. You can incorporate these into Teams meetings. They don't have to use their phone. They could follow the link. And again, you can put the same link in lots of different places. One example of that is here. If I go into Teams, what I've done is we've got a feedback tab here in sales and marketing. And look, I put the survey here. It's the same one we're doing now on our phone or on your computer. And that's cool because then we can get the same results everywhere. And all of this is actually dumping that data right into Excel for me. So I love it. I think it's great. Cool way to work. All right, well, why don't we check it out a little bit, do a little more demo. Now that feature in PowerPoint is brand new. And I think I'm going to show you before we do a interface tour here how easy it's actually very, very easy to add these in. So here is an example of what I did. So if I just create a new slide, this is quite literally a 10-second process probably. You have a slide, you want to put your form into your PowerPoint presentation. So go to the Insert tab, and you should see a Forms button here. If you don't see it, you may have to go to the Home tab and just choose Add-ins, and then it pops up. You can choose it, and it quickly does an add-in, but it might be there already. But Insert, Forms, it does a little panel, and look, there's basic Excel survey. Cool, I could also add like this favorite app survey. It gives me 2 choices. I can present for interactive meetings or fill the form in directly in the slide after meetings. This is a choice. But this is, I think, a really fun way to interact, is to put it in. This has got 4 questions, and then people can just use that QR code and fill that in. So really easy. You can do all kinds of different question types, which I'm going to show you. For example, this is a Net Promoter Score. Great way to gather information because you get 3 different types. And we'll explain that more. In fact, Dan's got some expanded stuff to share with you as well. All right, cool. Let's check out in the browser. So here I'm using Edge. Launch it if you'd like for yourself, but I've gone to office.com, Microsoft365.com. It's going to redirect you to your landing page online. The other thing that you can do is go to forums.office.com, and that's going to bring you right to the interface. So sometimes that one's easy for people to access just by typing that in or creating a shortcut. The app launcher is going to have forms here. And if you use it a lot, I'm going to recommend pinning it to your launcher because then you don't have to go try to find it. But there we go. This is what you should have. There is a free version for personal that's not business. So just make sure you're logged in with your organization account, because we can integrate this with all of our other things, all of our other stuff that we have within the Microsoft 365 world. But check it out. We've got lots of different forms here. That icon is the F. It kind of shares a similar color to SharePoint and Sway. So look for the letter. But here we are. I'm in the Forms app. If we take a look at the interface quickly here, we can see there's a new form, a new quiz, and there's other feature called Quick Import. So this lets us get started right away. There are other ways, and it's just with a blank one though, it's from scratch. There are other ways we can get started, like templates and accessing other ones that we've created or other people have shared with us. I'm gonna skip Quick Import, but I'm gonna just give it a mention here. You have to kind of set it up properly, but what it does is it allows you to take something that, like maybe you've got a bunch of forms on paper and you scan them, or they're in a Word document. Instead of having to go in and create them from scratch, you can upload something you have already. It's got to be from your device locally, so it doesn't reach out to OneDrive or SharePoint. It's got to be under 10 megabytes, a Word or PDF, but they've got to be laid out kind of simply like this. So I tried it a bunch. I found that this exact way works the best with the numbering and letters, but it gives you some guidance. One of the cool things about forms is it does help you along the way. It's pretty intuitive app, but here we have new form, new quiz, quick import. There are different templates. As I mentioned, you can see some pretty good ones right up front, but if you choose view all, you're brought to the template gallery. I like this on the top. This is a trending templates area. It tells you percentages. This is live, by the way, of how many users selected it. It's interesting, and a refresh just in case. Yesterday, some days, apparently, it'll even tell you how many users, and there's 150,000 people have downloaded it. These are new. So it's cool to see trending stuff. It's using AI and algorithms to see what's going to work best for you anyway. But we've got different categories. If you want to get started right away, like you got to create something quickly, definitely use one of these templates or encourage others to. It saves a ton of time, and it's got questions in there already and a little bit of design. You don't have to be a design person, but if you need to, like employee satisfaction type stuff, you want to get a survey, request forms, IT device, sick leave. Sometimes you might have things like this already set up. Again, these are templates, but it could be on anything. We'll explore templates after, but I would just wanted to create some awareness. We're going to go through some of the question types, and they have relevant ones for each. So check them out. Quick way to get started. I'm going to use the breadcrumbs and go back and scroll down a little bit and show we have a tabbed experience here. It's the same as pretty much every other Microsoft app online. So most of them have like a favorites area, or when we hover over them in any of these tabs, we can interact with them. So sometimes it's not clear what you need to do. You just hover over it. Filled forms, these are ones I've already finished that I've filled in. Tells me date and time stamp, which is cool. My forms, here's the ones I've created, and then we saw recent before. There are different ways that you can organize these as well. I started with a bunch, and most of us do this, just have uncategorized forms, because it's easy to find them by using some of these tools like filter by keyword. I could just type in survey, or let me change that a little bit, Excel. I start typing a word, and it types to you type to filter, which is quick and easy. But sometimes you may want to create a collection. This is where we can take any of these different forms and move them to a collection, so it's easier to organize them. Like I might have my customer surveys in that one, employee surveys in another. This one I've got just a couple of fun ones like that favorite app survey. So those are just some ways to keep organized. because if people start sharing them with you, like here, I've got this client questionnaire. I'm going to show that as a real world example. That can be just a little bit easier. Just a feature. You don't have to use that at all. What I'm going to do is show the, oops. This survey, we used and Dan, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that while I bring this up. And then this is one of the real world examples we wanted to show. And this is a good place to show question types where we show, I think it was just team survey. No. Where the organization found that they did.
Shared. That was under shared with me.
Yeah. The organization was having, thank you, Dan. I don't know why I got hung up for a sec. What they were trying to do was engage people's opinions on Microsoft Teams and also using Teams as a whole, but kind of converting over from Zoom. And we wanted to learn more about why they were experiencing these troubles. So we created a questionnaire, and it was a large organization, and we really wanted to take this data and then do something with it that could create a report, or we could kind of analyze it and figure some stuff out and help them. So this is an example. What we wanted to do right off was use maybe some branching questions or maybe gauge where they're at, because it doesn't have to just be multiple choice and then yes, no type of stuff. We can start using these really well-known ways to gauge people's opinions, net promoter scores, which is this Likert scale named after the person who created it. And then we can analyze it like in Excel and we get pivot tables and stuff. We can really do cool stuff with it. But let me give you some examples. On a typical day, what is your first interaction with Teams? So what we want to do is find out, well, what do they do? And then what we could do is some branching. And if they say, I prefer not to use Teams, let's say, we could have that response branch off to a different section, and we could dig a little deeper into why they prefer to use something else. So that's one way to use branching, but it can be a lot simpler. And I'll show you an example of, do you use Microsoft 365 or do you use Google? And then from there, that branches off and maybe asks different questions. But this is an example of a Likert style question where we're gauging basically where people lie on this scale. We have a few different statements. Dan's going to provide a little more info on it, but what it does, I mean, here we have Likert. It's how are people feeling about something? What's their opinion of it? Like to gauge attitudes, opinions about a topic. That can be helpful because we're getting a large amount of data because it's broken down like super granular. Each statement has a scale. This is 4, but often it's 5. That's pretty standard. I think you can go up to 10. But it's a great way to collect data. Really look into these two styles. Net promoter score is another one. We kind of saw an example of that. That provides us different ways to look at who's talking about it. Are they a promoter? Are they a detractor? I've got a few examples. So these can be lengthy. One thing people might want to do when they're creating these forms is create sections, because then we can guide people. Now I'm just zipping through this, but you'll see some of them are short answers, some of them are check boxes. Again, this kind of checkbox style could be drop downs. And I click in here. We could add images. We can move them around. But check this out. There's a little preview here. If we do add branching, what that does is gives us this drop down where we can choose different places for it to go. There's a lot of different redirects there. So again, super handy if you want to see that. And then this one's kind of filled out with 58 responses. I think this is a great example. But what it does is allows us to see each and every response individually if we want to. Now, this is anonymous. We're just trying to keep it anonymous, but you can capture people's names like if it's in the organization, you can tell exactly how long it took them, what their name is. You can kind of check out some of those analytics tools. But if you send an anyone link, like anyone, you want to gauge people's opinions and put on your LinkedIn or something, then it's going to read anonymous. So my suggestion is if you do an anonymous one that anybody can fill in, you could put a question in there that asks their name. You could even make that one required if you wanted to. You might get some fake names. But again, this is cool to be able to see each response. Tells us the average time the status is active, because we can turn them off if we want to. But check it out. There's the open in Excel button right there. That has a cloud. So when that opens, it's going to show you basically the full look at what people are, are they, you can just launch Excel here. It gives you rows and columns of what people are, like each and every bit of data. I'm going to show you another example of ways that we can share. I'll bring up the Excel thing in a moment just to show you. It's rows and columns in the form of a table. But you can also print the summary, which is handy if you just want to share it with somebody as a PDF. It does a very basic look at all of these different questions with charts. So these charts are actually interactive if you have them on the screen though, because again, as we mouse over them, we can see that in that pop-up. We can choose more details and see the individual responses for that question. It's a little different than the other one we saw. You can get more, like refine the scope of what you're looking for a lot by clicking on the levels of details. And there's one more thing in here, which is called insights. Here's an example. These are pinned insights. Like if you have people respond in a short answer, you can have that, put it in a word cloud, which is helpful because if a lot of people, what's your favorite app? And it's going to be the biggest one is the most, we hover over it, 10 respondents, 42% of people versus 2 or 1 or 3 people said other things. So if you choose insights, it'll show you those and then you can pin and unpin them, which is awesome. All right. The other way to kind of take a look at these, let's go back here. Is to do a summary link. So I mentioned sharing it maybe as a PDF or printing it off. If you share a summary link, you can basically copy that link and paste it to any browser, even incognito. You don't have to sign in or anything. There's no control at all except just a nice look that is interactive. You can share with anyone. I think that's awesome because you can gather this information and then share results. Now, there are other ways that we can share when we want to collaborate, and we'll explore some of those. Now, Mike, I don't know if you want to talk any more about some of the ones you're using that are real world examples. For us, that was a big one. Another one we use internally to kind of choose, make some decisions on videos we were trying out. But Mike, is that something you want to do, or are you all set?
Yeah, just real quick, I'd like to jump in.
I love hearing these stories, so yeah, it's great.
We actually, kind of, like I said in the beginning, we've got a few of them that we've been using for a couple of years. It varies with how complex they get. We've got a real simple one that we use just as a PTO form that we built. It's actually tied into Teams so that our engineers can just put in a PTO request from there and not have to reach out to one specific person or anything, so it can copy everybody that needs to know that somebody might be gone. And so that's been really useful for us as far as scheduling our guys out and everything. In the last year, we've also added a couple of new ones, one of them being a prospecting form that I created that just goes through all of the questions that we want to make sure that we get answers to if we're talking to somebody who might be a potential client. That way we can, we make sure we get all the information we need for a support agreement, making sure that we can present everything to them that they're looking for and not have to go back and ask questions later. Just kind of helps guide us along, make sure we don't forget anything. Kind of along those lines is a network assessment form that we built where I can send any of my engineers out to a client's location and they can do a full assessment of all the hardware that's on site. And they don't have to, remember to go check this closet or remember to look for these pieces of equipment or anything like that. It's all in there. And just kind of tying into John's comments about branching, this particular form for network assessments is over 400 questions. And so if they don't have something on site like a server, we set it up with branching so that, if it's just a simple yes, no, is there a server on site? If no, it skips the rest of that segment completely, saving our guys some time, which is really the point of all of this anyway, right? We also have set up another one that we've used a little more recently, another simple one, but we reached out to all of our team just to kind of see how they feel about our brand awareness. For our business development gal, Ashley, actually put it together and just wanted to get some feedback on how they're seeing VirtualIT's name thrown out there in the wild. And so that was really helpful, just kind of knowing where we can improve from an internal perspective. And then one more, just kind of a fun one, is every Friday we buy breakfast for our team, and there's a whole lot of reaching out to everybody and updating everybody on who's going to be around to be able to even get breakfast to make sure we're not over purchasing or under purchasing or whatever. And so this morning I decided I'm going to make a new one, and just that way one person can send out the form. Are you there? Are you going to eat? All of that stuff, and just be done with it. So there's a number of different uses for it, and I just wanted to throw those out there as options for you guys because I really want to help kind of spark that imagination for you on ways that it can work for you as well.
Thanks, Mike.
That's awesome. Thanks. Let me see here. I really like hearing these examples because I think a lot of places use them to collect information, from colleagues, from all employees, or from anonymous people, or maybe vendors we work with. But check this out. This is an example of like Teams usage, and we get all of this data that's in a table. And anytime we export, and I'll show you how we can do that, but we can have it come in live. Like as people are typing in, we can get that automatic connection I was talking about, or export it and then use it from there. But it's pretty amazing to have that connection, but then use some of the features in here, like the Analyze Data button in Excel, and then get a pivot chart and then a pivot table that talks about people's usage and comparing how easy is Microsoft Teams for them to use, like a self-assessment. And then, like, do they participate in group chats? Do they adjust settings? We can kind of compare those and just fine tune that. And we can also use other AI features that are in here to learn more information about everything. So Excel gets really fancy with this stuff. So I encourage you to check it out. Now, one thing you kind of saw me doing here probably is I downloaded this QR code for this feedback form. I'm going to go through this quickly and show you how easy it is to kind of get started with some of the question types. You don't have to fill this one out or anything if you don't want to, but it is an example of all the different question types and some sections, some branching. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. So here I've got this feedback form. I've got section 1, section 2, some information, just basic questions, different types. Section 3 is my Microsoft 365 section. Section 4 is Google. And then I have on the bottom and you'll see this kind of interjected throughout, is this recommended. That's AI looking at your words and trying to figure out context and giving you some question types. We can see icons here. Like, is it a date question, text, a favorite, like how satisfied, or this might be a net promoter score. But it does a pretty good job here. No, that's net promoter score. And then here we have like the radio buttons and stuff. So sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I should probably put that one in. You may not think of it. It's easy. You don't have to type. So that's handy. But there are all different question types that we can use. Choice, multiple choice, text. This can be short or long answer. It can be one word. Rating, date, ranking, Likert scale. We have upload file. Now I wanted to show you this now because we're not gonna. If I wanted to have you interact and follow that QR code, I had to make it an anonymous share. If you do that, you can't use this feature. If you have it just internally, you can, because it uses SharePoint. And what happens is people can upload a file. So if you have, if you need people to maybe upload a logo, you could put a question in there that asks them to, let's see, only people, record their name, let's say. And then now if I go, I can do that one. And if you upload, have them upload a file, maybe it could be profile picture. Please upload a high quality, high resolution. And it does all the editing stuff for you in line, which you saw, which is cool. I'm gonna say, well, we'll let them upload 3 choices, 10 megabytes. Yeah, that's max. And then I can choose things like file type. And I can decide that I don't want them to send me an Excel version. I just want those. And that will then create a subfolder wherever this one was created. And I actually created this one as a technology team group form. Because if you create it in Excel Online and you create it within that, like in that SharePoint site or within that team, it'll automatically be shared with those people. But if you just create it from the app, it's going to store it like in your OneDrive. Think of it like that. So this is a shared form. It's going to take all those profile pics, put them into that folder, and then we have those. That makes it really easy to do, like self-serve stuff. This is going to reduce calls, emails, all that kind of fun stuff. But check it out. Different question types. This would be one that's a choice. Now I'm going to jump ahead a little and show you branching, because we got to see a lot of examples so far with the ones I've shown. And hopefully you're looking around a little bit on your own. But what does your organization use for online productivity? Microsoft 365. If they answer that one, then go to, and then you can pick the next question, which is defaults to end of the form, like they're done, or other questions in this section. There could be several. This is a small section, and then to another completely different section here. So basically I have it. If they choose this, it goes to Microsoft 365 with that logo and questions like relevant. We don't want to mix up the words necessarily, just that'd be off-putting a little. If it's Google Workspaces, it's going to go to Google, and then I'll show you in those sections. We have those on the bottom, actually, section 4 and section 3. So that means it's going to jump right to this one, let's say, and it asks them about things like Excel, Teams, other Microsoft 365 apps, finding out information. But if they chose Google Workspace, then it's going to say Sheets, Calendar, and other Google Workspace apps. I think that's cool. We can always change our mind. We can move these around really easily. They're a little almost like grippies. And AI is always trying to help us out. We saw these just pop up. So try, if you just say, what is your favorite color? It will suggest different colors for you for time, I'm going to skip it. Let's check out
Good,
this other
good
AI
proof.
feature, which is style.
AI is not always perfect, right?
It's not as responsive as I'm wanting it to be right now. So we're going to try another part. So you can create like a more immersive, more comfortable or quicker feel. Sometimes they can be very boring looking, but you can also just add a color, something basic. You could add little videos or designs. But if you want to add like your company color, you could do that. It's kind of hidden though. Customized theme. It's got ideas. It reads your words. It tries to figure out what might be good. You can even put background music. But if you hit the plus, you can upload an image, search for it in Bing, or upload from your OneDrive. Or you can go and just type in a hex color. So if you have company colors, usually you're going to see that like the brand standards, 10793F happens to be Excel green. There it is. And now what that does is gives me choices that are related to that, which I like that. There we go. Awesome, your AI style is now applied. So that means you have consistent look and feel. It looks pro. We're asking relevant questions, and we can test it along the way with this preview button. That's a really important part of this, I think, because here we go. You get to try it out. What does your organization use? Microsoft 365. Next. But I had this also set up. I should probably tell you this. Other. I'm going to say both. As soon as I hit that, it launched this other question because of the branching. Please tell us more about how your organization works with files, or data files and apps. Enter, and then it goes to the next. We go through a short answer type, choice, the rating, dates with the picker. It makes it super easy for people to navigate through. Think about the mobile phone as well. A lot of people are going to be filling these out on their phone. So it's important to click on preview mobile and then try it out. And it will let you interact with this, including moving things around. You can submit. It's very exciting. People can save or submit another. So when you sample that, you have to consider, all right, so I've got all these different question types that I can use. I want to collect responses. I got my style good. If you click here and go to your settings, this is where you can fine tune all those options, because I know there are some concerns sometimes, like what if I don't want them to share this? This is a very sensitive survey. I don't want people to know XYZ. You can choose anyone can respond, but of course, because of our file upload, that's grayed out. So that can be a pitfall for some people because you like it just won't work. There we go. Sorry about that. Yep, I deleted it, and I want to go to settings. Anyone can respond. Cool. No sign in. Specific people. You can assign certain people, and that link's not going to work for anyone else except for people you type in. So that's going to be like management surveys, membership, leadership surveys, decision-making type of things. You can pick a start and end date. You can have a survey end. You can set a time duration. If you do that, basically it's like more for quizzes. Like you got 20 minutes to do this pop quiz, and then you're done. That's what that's for. You can shuffle questions if you want, if they're appropriate question types. Progress bar, you've got to have sections for that. It'll tell people, just like if you do an online survey, whenever I shop anywhere. Oh, and if you only want them to do one response, this is where you can do that, checkboxes. If you want to make it very personal, you can customize things like the basic thank you message. It's pretty standard, but you can say, yeah, you did it. Whatever you like, you can put that in there. And then do you want people to save? Now, if it's a really important one, you might want to get email notifications, but if that's too much, you can go in and fine tune these. If you want to collaborate, as in maybe you want someone to help you build it, you can create a link, kind of like a file or any other share, to anyone or specific people to help collaborate on that form with you. So it's sharing the same copy and then you're both working on it. Or you can get a link and duplicate it. You can just copy that and then anyone can go paste that into the browser. Let me show you. This is an incognito browser. I'm not logged into anything. There's a banner on the top. Duplicate this form, use it as your own. If I duplicate it, it's going to make me sign into Microsoft. So that's cool. Different ways to share, as in work on it, create from it, but then have people fill it out in our response section. So this is opening in Excel, right? We're just sort of winding down here. So if people have other questions, let me know. I'm going to show you a couple of ways it's integrating
Hey,
in other
John,
ways. Yeah.
I'd love, can you just click shared with me? I want to see if that AI form is there, just to give one more. It's not,
sure.
so yeah, I could certainly.
I think I recreated it
Okay.
here. This one, right?
Yeah.
I think as a activity to show how to duplicate it, I had done that. So this was shared, and you could break it off by creating a duplicate. But we use this at this was cool because what we did was put a link to SharePoint. So we were toying around with some AI voices because, of course, AI is very, very popular, and we were trying to figure out if they're any good. So we listened and asked other staff members. There's a list of 60. David went through and found 7, and he made 3-minute audio samples of all of them. And we could go in, and this is using SharePoint and Stream, and we're getting to see all this. It's kind of like auditions. See, look, here's Stream. We're still in the Microsoft world here, but it is kind of neat. I enjoyed doing this one because you had us go through, read a little bit, put the people, AI, in order of our top choice, put in comments and submit it. And that made him, he was able to make decisions super quickly. Damn it, I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat, and what really helped us out, there was a clear winner as far as the top voice, but it really helped us identify that second choice based on respondents. Like 3 people picked this person, 1 person picked this one. So we were able to determine that actually the third voice more people preferred, even though it ranked as second, and we got a clear winner as 1. So really, we're winding down here. The point of our session today, right, John, is we want you to think about new ways to leverage these technologies, and you can kind of roll on for another minute or two, John. I just want to make sure I've been answering questions as they come in, and I want to make sure that we give Mike an opportunity to just kind of close things out. But these tools work across Microsoft 365.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me show you a couple of examples that got some good questions about it in Excel, for example.
Yeah, if you can show that, how to find it in Excel. I think you're doing that right now. Great.
So we talked, I was like, hey, look, there's the cloud. It's connecting automatically. Well, how do you do that? Here, I'm in Excel online, and I just opened, this is a new document, but you can really do this in any document because it's on the Insert tab. So I created one. I'm going to just call it this. Call it employee survey, and it's saved on my OneDrive because that's where I created it from. So that's going to be considered a personal form. Check it out. I can just go to the Insert tab because it's an object. Insert this object, which is a form, and then you can start building. And then it's going to save it. You can go start adding your questions and doing things like adding branching, adding photos, adding videos. You can get started right away, previewing. And that was from Excel. It's got to be Excel Online. Another thing that I think people are going to find to be pretty cool is this create button, where from that landing page, Microsoft 365 landing page, you can create a form or quiz right from there. That's another thing that you can do. If you go into SharePoint, let me show you some other ways to create it the same type of way. Now, SharePoint and Teams, remember, are going to be close if it's a team site. So I'm going to go to, for example, the sales and marketing SharePoint site. If you create a new document, you can, well, let's go into document library first. If you create a new document, you can create forms for Excel. That's actually, so there's Excel workbook, and then you could insert a form, or you can just go straight to forms for Excel and insert that as an actual, just like another file. And when you do that, that means all 23 of these people are going to have access to it fully. So keep that in mind. This is meant to be shared, but sometimes you maybe want them to just fill it out. So not only can you create it there and then it'll live there, you could have it export all those to a product. Like if you're asking people what product or what products do you have, or requests or anything like that, inventories of offices, that can be a really easy way to do it. Another thing is if you create, so we go to the home page here, and if you actually go in and create a web part, you can put forms right on that page. I realize we've got like 2 minutes, so Dan, if anybody
hey, John, you could go all day on this stuff. It's really.
Oh, I told you I got excited
amazing,
about it.
Right? No, I know. Yeah, I mean, there's all day classes for forms, and we've got multiple topics and things like that. So I think this was a great rush over. Any final questions that anyone has?
Thanks for your questions. Sorry, Dan, that gets. I'm sorry, I got excited about SharePoint. When people have questions, I want to show, but we can stick around if people have other questions. There's a lot of interest in this, so thanks for participating.
I have one question, John, and then we can kind of turn it over to Mike. And again, you're right. We can stick around if there are any other questions, but I want to respect everybody's time. Catherine asked, can I share a form that only I will see the results of? I'll let you take that one.
Oh, absolutely. Just out of the box, if you create one, you're the only one who can see it.
Bingo bongo.
Yep. If you create it within the team or within SharePoint, then anybody in that group can see it. But then you can refine the permissions from there. So yeah, it's all yours until you decide.
Great. Thanks, Sean. Mike, do you want to wrap things up for us?
Yeah, thanks, guys. John, we really appreciate your time walking us through all of that today. Dan, thank you for monitoring all of the questions and handling that. And then some of the tips that you were throwing out was really helpful as well. Between the two of you, I actually had a few things that I learned that I'm going to go back and kind of retool some of our forms on. So appreciate that. As we're closing things out, I just want to thank everybody one more time for joining us today. If you're already a VirtualIT customer and you have other questions about forms, or maybe you want some help getting it set up, you can feel free to call into the help desk. Our engineers should be more than capable of helping you walk through some of that and get you on a good start at least. If you're not a customer yet, feel free to reach out to our business development gal, Ashley Quaid, or myself, and we can get into the weeds on, what it would look like for us to help you guys out with, IT support, with forms creations and all of that. We're going to send out some information along with today's recording to everybody. So our contact information will be included in all of that when that goes out. As a reminder, this is just the second webinar in a series that we're doing. Keep an eye out. We're going to be sending invitations for the next one in the coming weeks. And again, we appreciate you coming out. Hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
think I waited long enough, John. I've got to hop for that 3 o'clock call. Thank you
Of course,
guys
Dan,
from
take it easy.
Virtual IT. We'll work on the recording and we'll try to have that to you guys tomorrow.
Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you as well. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll catch up with you later.
All right, just one question here about a flow. The name of the tool that you use, Power Automate. Check it out. It's worth it. You should find it in your app launcher. Power Automate is going to have a lot of different templates for you to use. You can just search for forms and you can see some of those examples that I had earlier. If that's not what you mean, let me know, but I'm pretty sure it is. All right, great. Well, thanks again, everyone. We appreciate your time and listening to me go on and on about this. It's good stuff, though. I get excited. All right, take care. Bye.